Hey everybody, welcome to the Waiver Wire for Week 11 episode. This episode, if you're new to the program, gives you 3 stream plays. So if you have people on bye week or injuries or something, I give you 3 good matchups for every position. And then I also give you 3 long-term plays. So if you're just trying to fortify your roster for your playoff run, I give you 3 long-term plays at every position, except for defense and special teams where I only give you just the weekly streams. Before we get rolling here, as I always ask, please, for 2 seconds of your time, for 2 clicks, a like, and a subscribe. We want to unlock some production features to make these videos more interactive. We need your support to do that. So please, small deal for you, big deal for us. It really, really does help. So please, once again, like and subscribe. What I'm going to do right now, I'm going to start with quarterbacks. I'm going to go to defense and special teams, then tight end, then wide receiver and running back as we advance through the video. So let's just start at the quarterback position. Week 11, I like the following matchups. Jimmy Garoppolo versus Arizona. He's only owned in 54.7% of the leagues. Derek Carr versus Cincinnati. I think you got to start any quarterback against Cincinnati at this point. 36% owned. And then Nick Foles coming back from IR against Indianapolis. Now, statistically or analytically, I guess, I don't love the projection against Indianapolis. They have a great defense, but we haven't seen what Foles can do. In theory, he should be a stronger quarterback than Gardner Minshew was. And so when you're looking at trying to pick somebody up, I like the first 2 significantly more than I like Foles, but he'd be an interesting play. Now, long-term plays, I like Kirk Cousins, still owned in only 60% of the leagues. Had a nice game against Dallas. He continues to have nice games. And remember, he's doing this without Adam Thielen in the game. When Adam Thielen does come back from injury, he's going to be even better. So keep an eye out for Cousins. Garoppolo, who we mentioned on the other screen, he's still out there. And Baker Mayfield, I don't love the projection this week against Pittsburgh, but he has 2 games coming up against Cincinnati. I do think he's going to go on a run. He has a game against Arizona for the rest of the season. He's a quarterback. If you're really hurting at the position, he is in line to have a really nice end of the season, and we saw him play fairly well against Buffalo with a couple touchdown passes there. So keep an eye out once again for Baker Mayfield. Now, defense and special teams. For a stream option this week, I like Pittsburgh. I like Pittsburgh every week, by the way. They're a top 5 defense. I don't know why they're only owned in about 2/3 the leagues there. But honestly, I don't do defense long term, but I think they're a weekly start. They sack the quarterback. They force turnovers. They've been playing lights out, especially since they made that Fitzpatrick trade. I think you should pick Pittsburgh's defense up for sure. They're by far my favorite play. Again, matchup-wise, I think they'll hold Cleveland down. I think that'll be a lower-scoring game. But just longer term, I think they're a great defense to have on your team. Carolina versus Atlanta. Now, Atlanta's going to get points, but I'm banking on Carolina to force turnovers here. So I do like their projection, and especially at 53% owned. And then Jacksonville versus Indianapolis. Remember, Jacoby Brissett is still limited, I think, with that knee injury. Is he going to play? Is he not? He's questionable as of the time of this recording. If he doesn't play, I really like this Jacksonville defense to have a nice game against the Colts. For tight ends, stream plays this week. I like Darren Fells against Baltimore, not so much because I think this is a great matchup for Fells against Baltimore, but because Fells is leading the league, or at least leading all tight ends in touchdown receptions. All the guy does is catch touchdowns. Deshaun Watson, trust him in the goal line. He gets a lot of red zone targets. Baltimore, they aren't the old Baltimore Ravens. They're winning these games with offense, and their defense is better since they've made their trade for Peters. But I like Darren Fells really as a roster, both short-term and long-term, so go ahead. And then I have a pair of Indianapolis tight ends. Remember, T.Y. Hilton is doubtful this game. Paris Campbell is out. This team is going to be a 2 tight end type team where they're trying to run the ball, and they're going to be hitting short passes, especially if Brissett is still out. Even with Brissett in, I think they're going to do that. Now, Jack Doyle, I think, is the more likely to get the touchdown this season, as has been the case so far. Owned in 51.3% of leagues. Eric Ebron is more likely to get more targets. So in PPR leagues especially, you should pay attention. He didn't get in the end zone this last week, but he did have 12 targets. So if you're not paying attention to the stat lines, that stat sheet tells you a lot. These tight ends are certainly integrated into the game plan. Long-term plays, if you're looking for fortification, again, I have Fells and Doyle for the same reasons I listed before. And then Jacob Hollister, who I've been talking about for a few weeks now, still only owned in 3% of the leagues, got into the end zone again on Monday Night Football against a tough 49ers defense. I didn't even like his projection for Week 10. I like him more going forward. Yes, I know there's bye weeks to consider and everything, but Hollister, if you're hurting at tight end, I'm telling you, he could be a top 10, maybe even a top 5 tight end as we round out the season. Everybody loved Will Dissly when he went down, and Jacob Hollister looks pretty good. I mean, it's not so much even that he's just getting some of the red zone opportunities. He actually looks like a pretty good player, so you want to pay attention to him. At wide receiver, for stream options this week, I like James Washington, actually. I think his projection is stronger than even Juju Smith-Schuster this week in that matchup against Cleveland. Only owned in 18% of the leagues. He's the first one I'm going to be looking to, maybe even second, because you see on that list, Will Fuller, he has an asterisk. He did participate in practice on Monday. He had that hamstring injury. He's coming off a bye. Hopefully he's healed up. If Will Fuller plays, I like him just because of his big play potential. But James Washington, I do think he's going to get in the end zone this week against Cleveland. Those are a pair of guys that I think are really nice pickups and actually could be flex type starts for the rest of your year anyway. And then Jamison Crowder against Washington, playing his old team, owned in 64% of the leagues. But I do think that Washington's coverage of slot receivers has been suspect for a couple years now. I think Jamison Crowder can find some windows. Is he going to get in the end zone? I don't know, but I think he could give you 10 catches and 80 yards certainly in this game. So I do like him. Long term for wide receivers, I mentioned Crowder before. I mentioned Will Fuller before coming back, and Mohamed Sanu is my favorite though. Tom Brady's already looking at him on the goal line. He blocks, so he stays on the field. Yes, I know that the Patriots are getting N'Keal Harry back pretty soon, if not coming off of the bye week this week, but they will be getting him back. But still, Sanu I think is somebody you need to look forward or look into. He did well in Atlanta. Since he's been in New England, he's been looked at on the goal line. Got a lot of pretty decent targets, pretty decent looks in scoring position. I do think as he gets more familiarity with this offensive play calling with McDaniels, with this offense in New England, I think he'll get better and better. He's somebody you should snap up if he's available. Now on to running backs for week 11. Look, honestly, it's tough. It's tough to find running backs at this point. They're all gobbled up, but I like Brian Hill if there's an asterisk there. If Devonta Freeman can't go, I like Brian Hill. He has a nice projection there. If Freeman can't go, only owned in 1% of leagues. If you're desperate for a running back and Freeman is out, you can look for him. J.D. McKissick, who I actually like projection-wise this week, but it assumes that Stafford's going to play. So I like him a lot more if Stafford plays. If not, I still think he'll get carries. I still think he'll get receptions for you if you're in a PPR league. But I don't love his opportunity to score if Driscoll's at quarterback against Dallas, who's coming off a loss and really needs to make a statement here. So J.D. McKissick, he should probably have a little bit of an asterisk as well, but he might be one of my longer-term favorite plays as long as Stafford doesn't go on the IR or something like that. And then lastly, we have Duke Johnson. Again, I don't love this projection, but we're kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel here. Duke Johnson could get in the end zone on a screen pass, but I don't think he's going to have a big day. But I do think Baltimore will score. I think both offenses will score. And, he does have Deshaun Watson throwing to him out of the backfield. That always helps. Long-term running back plays, I do like a couple of guys a little bit more. I mentioned McKissick. Kareem Hunt is back in action. He played really a nice third down back role. Got a lot of targets, a lot of catches last week against Buffalo. It hurts Nick Chubb's value a little bit, and Nick Chubb hurts Kareem Hunt's value quite a bit. But if you're in a PPR league, you should look to Kareem Hunt, only owned in 69% of leagues at this point. Darius Geis only owned in 38.2% of leagues, and Kalen Ballage in Miami only owned in 25% of the leagues. Now the problem here is these two teams are going to be playing from behind a lot, but they will have opportunities. They look to be the primary ball handler for their offenses moving forward. So if you're looking for volume, I think those are the guys. And then J.D. McKissick, I guess, is in that same spot. I talked about him in the last segment the last slide there. With Stafford. I like him a lot more with Stafford, but again, if you're looking for one running back and you're looking for volume, the bottom three guys on that list are probably your guys, and it doesn't hurt certainly if you just are looking for depth or you're in a deeper league and can afford the roster spot. I think you should pick those guys up, especially Geis. We haven't really seen him yet, and we know that Callahan has been running the ball with Adrian Peterson with reckless abandon since he's taken over play calling there. So I do think Geis is a guy you really need to look at. People are already obviously forgetting him am only owned in 38% of the leagues. So there you go. There's a full week of waiver plays, your streams, and your long-term plays. Definitely check out the rest of our Week 11 playlist, which we do start sits, touchdown predictions, full fantasy football analytics. If you want to see my point projections, just tweet at me. I'm at TFS_Sean, or you can follow or send me an email. I'm at it's functionalsportsaholic@gmail.com, or just reply to this email or on this YouTube video, and I'll make sure I figure out a way to get you the free rankings and free daily fantasy football analytics. As always, everybody, please once again like, subscribe, comment. If you think I'm missing somebody, please keep me honest, let me know, and I'd love to have the discussion. And catch us on another episode soon. Thanks, everyone.